Hello everyone, welcome to In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 3rd of November. My name is George Glass, and joining me today from the Threat Intel team is Ethan Afory. This week we are covering a vulnerability in the Windows Server Update Service, or WSUS, that's under active exploitation. We have some notes on extraction of Microsoft Teams access tokens, ATROPOSIA, Malware-as-a-Service, and some ransomware roundup, including QILIN's uptick in ransomware attacks as of late. So let's start with CVE 2025-59287. This is a critical remote code execution vulnerability affecting the Windows Server Update Service. It was addressed in the October patch cycle and is now under active exploitation. WSUS is a tool that enables remote administrators to apply updates to Windows servers. This flaw affects Windows servers 2012 through to 2025. Only when the WSUS role is enabled and the server is listening on the default ports, and that's 8530 and 8531. The vulnerability allows an unauthenticated attacker to achieve remote code execution with system privileges by sending malicious encrypted cookies to the getCookie endpoint. On October 24th, Microsoft released an additional patch to address the vulnerability. Updated information is available at the Microsoft Advisory, which is linked in our report. Just a note on that, at time of writing, the exploitability assessment had not yet been updated. Here at Kroll, we've operated detections for suspicious processes spawning from W3WP, and we've deployed additional detection based on malicious processes spawning from the WSUS service.exe. So for recommendations, of course, definitely install those out-of-band updates released by Microsoft last week. If you haven't already enrolled in the Hot Patch program, you may consider doing that. There are additional security updates released on October 24th for this vulnerability. Microsoft also provides some workarounds for those unable to patch immediately. Of course, we do recommend patching as soon as possible, but those are: if the WSUS server role is enabled on your server, disable it. Note that the clients that will no longer be able to receive updates from the server if WSUS is disabled, and block inbound traffic to ports 8530 and 8531 on the host firewall, as opposed to blocking only at the network perimeter and the firewall. That is because this could be used for internal lateral movement as well as a part of the external attack surface. Next up, we're talking about extraction of Teams access tokens. Researchers at RandoriSec produced a report on the current state of Microsoft Teams access token theft, a tactic that we've seen be used by many threat groups, both to move laterally within environments and assist in internal phishing attacks. One of the methods detailed how Microsoft Teams handles web authentication by inspecting the WebView 2 based components, which hosts the Chromium engine Teams uses for its user interface and web flows. The full sequence required to recover usable Teams tokens is as follows, and there's much more detail on this in our reporting and at the RandoriSec blog post as well. Essentially, it requires a local attacker to obtain the state file and the cookies from the SQLite database. The attacker would then need to decode the base64 key and call the DP API to unwrap the master key. That step requires either the victim's user context or access to that user's DP API secrets. So again, much more local attack vector here. And then using that master key, the attacker can decrypt the AES GCM encrypted cookie blob and extract the tokens such as the Skype token and the chat service token. And those are valid for Microsoft Graph API and permit reading or sending Teams messages. You can also use that for mailbox enumeration and accessing files that the user can access through those shares. Now, of course, that all requires a lot of local file access. According to the researchers, the Teams process also locks the cookie file while running. So the attack is made much simpler if Teams is not active or if the attacker can dump the files while the user is logged out. There is a POC for this. It was implemented in Rust and demonstrated the automated use of recovering those tokens against graph endpoints. And the blog also shows how existing tools such as GraphSpy can be used to turn recovered tokens into a broader cloud-side reconnaissance and data exfiltration capability. Researchers also mention the danger that comes with the blending of these two factors, Teams relying on WebView, that can leak the encrypted artifacts to disk, and the Windows DP API for the user logon state rather than a stronger hardware protected enclave, something that you might see on more mobile computing such as smartphones and so on. In a real-world scenario, a successful local compromise can therefore escalate to tenant-level access by abusing session tokens that Teams leave accessible on the disk. And we've talked about this a lot over the last couple of years. Just to reiterate again, we see a lot of this sort of abuse, and we have detections in place for a lot of that behavior already, but certainly something that Teams can use for education and so on and so forth. There are a number of Microsoft Entra ID factors at play, and there's more details about some of the resources that Microsoft have for protecting these tokens, again, available in our longer form reporting. And lastly, from me today, the ATROPOSIA Malware-as-a-Service, which has been detailed by Varonis. ATROPOSIA is a remote access Trojan with a feature set common to many modern RATs, including remote control, file system manipulation, clipboard capture, general information gathering, process execution, and DNS hijacking. The malware is designed to be easy to use, significantly lowering the technical skill set required of the actor using the tool. That includes modules to automatically escalate privileges and so on. One of the most notable additions to the ATROPOSIA malware is its integrated vulnerability scanner, which allows the load skills actor to extend their foothold more easily by automatically exploiting vulnerabilities that it finds. And all of this functionality can be accessed via a simple-to-use control panel and plugin builder, priced at around $200 a month for access. And again, to sort of put that into context, that does fit very, very well with the other Malware-as-a-Service things that we cover fairly often, things like Luma Stealer and StillC. That's sort of right on the money there. Once again, we're very confident that our current detection coverage will identify this threat. So we've got good detections for this. And now I'll hand over to Ethan to take us through the ransomware roundup. Over to you, Ethan.
Thank you, George. The QILIN ransomware group has seen an uptick in activity. Since January 2025, the group has affected more than 700 victims across 62 countries. As seen in the first table, QILIN was the highest with 33 posts within the last week, and Akira was at 25. QILIN publishes around 40 or even sometimes over 40 new victims listings per month on its leak site, hitting a high of 100 cases in June. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. QILIN has started to use a Linux-based ransomware binary against Windows host. This cross-platform approach is used to quietly sidestep Windows-centric security solutions, including conventional EDR platforms. Attacks typically start with sophisticated social engineering, such as fake CAPTCHA pages, to deliver information stealers and harvest valid credentials, enabling the actors to bypass MFA and move laterally using legitimate user sessions. The attackers abuse trusted remote management tools like Screen Connect, AnyDesk, and Atera RRM for extensive reconnaissance, command execution, and persistent remote access, blending malicious activity with normal IT operations. For final ransomware deployment, the Linux ELF encryptor is transferred via WinSCP and executed on Windows systems using Splashtop Remote's SR Manager executable. Analysts found that QILIN affiliates achieved this execution by leveraging the Windows subsystem for Linux feature to run the Linux binary natively on Windows, effectively evading security tools focused solely on Windows portable executables. Furthermore, QILIN utilizes bring your own vulnerable driver techniques to disable security processes and neutralize endpoint defenses. They also specifically target VM backup infrastructure with PowerShell scripts to steal recovery credentials, thereby compromising disaster recovery capabilities before encryption. This fusion of legitimate tool abuse, driver-level tampering, and cross-platform execution creates a highly potent, detection-resistant attack mix. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ethan. And that's all we have time for this week. If you have any questions, please remember to contact us at cti@kroll.com. We will see you next week. Have a great day.